deal with.
Wow, impressive idea, Prof. Africa is rich with natural resources, and this is becoming a mixed blessing, because the continent is grappling with interferences, machinations, and plots to usurp the wealth Africa possesses. This continent is also being saddled with seemingly never-ending debts, Prof. So I want to ask you this question as well. Does Africa have no other options than this situation that it is in right now, Prof?
No, let me first of all tell you that we are in many ways allowing the unpalatable to happen to us. Look at the debt situation that we keep on talking about. You and me know that the DNA of the Bretton Woods institutions, which has kept us in perpetual debt, is to keep us in perpetual debt. The Zambian economist Dambisa Moyo has written a good book, which I commend to all of us, called Dead Aid. The South Korean Ha Jun Chang has also written a beautiful book called The Bad Samaritans. And my own view is that we must find a way of getting ourselves out of this debt trap. I remember in 1987 when Thomas Sisidok Sankara was the president of Burkina Faso. He delivered a speech in Addis Ababa on the occasion of a meeting of the heads of states and government, saying we must release ourselves from this debt trap. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Because look at the kind of money that countries borrow from the IMF, $3 billion. Do you know the African individuals who can actually lend $3 billion? Do you know that African politicians have stolen enough money and kept it in Europe and in Switzerland and in other parts of the country that if that money were returned to the continent of Africa, we would pay all the debts that we owe? Do you know that we have enough resources which, if we added value to, would in fact be sufficient to release us from the debt? So one of the things that I think that Africa should do collectively is to make a vow that in the next 10 years, Africa is not going to borrow from any of these Bretton Woods institutions. And even in terms of bilateral debts, we are going to relieve ourselves. And that calls into question the role of initially conceived African institutions like the African Development Bank. The African Development Bank now has about 88 shareholders. And some of the biggest shareholders are actually foreign countries. The second largest shareholder in African Development Bank now is the United States of America. We should move to buy off all those shares so that African Development Bank becomes a true pan-African bank. If we want to lend, we want to borrow, we borrow from them. And if we want to collaborate with the Asian Development Bank or any other banks, we do so from a position of strength. In a nutshell, I'm saying, as long as we allow ourselves to be saddled with those debts, we'll never grow. Remember, a borrower is a slave of the lender.
Wow,